Hey, so today I just revised how I connect our front end to the back end. Okay, it's a very simple topic, and I revise all the important topic before I jumping how I connect front end to the back end. So let's start our video and just wait a second. First of all, I check our internet connection is good or not. I jumping how I all the important topic before I jumping how I connect front end to the back end. So let's start our video and just wait a second. First of all, I check our internet connection is good or not. Okay. So the stream health is excellent. So yeah, I'm expected to internet connect the live streaming it's getting so well. Okay. So let's start it. So here is our topic. So before jumping to the how I can connect backend to the front end to the backend, before jumping, first of all, something you need to understand it. Okay. So I can explain you. Okay. Front end and backend. In our page, if you just go to any website, here is the website. It's on YouTube. Just on the YouTube, just open Amazon. Okay, Amazon. This is a website. Okay, and this website is show you uh most kind of content. It's HTML, images, videos. Okay, this is we have rendering the website using two steps, using two things. Okay, a client side rendering and server side rendering. And I know the question in your mind, what is client side rendering and what is server side rendering. Website has mainly two parts. Okay, the first is front end and second is the back end. Front end we have to say client side and back end the server side. Okay, and the page is loaded from only two ways. It's come from front end and otherwise it's come from the back end. So how the page is created in server side rendering and client side rendering, the basic difference. In server side rendering, the just I can check. In server side rendering, we have fetching the data from a server. In the simple terms, just suppose we have a website and we want to take the data. Okay, we need that data. So what we do, we just simply go to the our website and write what we want. So the server is send a empty HTML page to a browser. Okay, what we do when we the data is coming from server side rendering, the data is basically come from where it's come from server, and the server send the empty HTML page, and after the HTML page, it's we have received the Java's the browser download the JavaScript and run it to the client side and browser see all the outputs essentially. Okay, but next is how the client side rendering works. Client side rendering work is just like no sorry, I just teach you client side rendering and what the server side rendering. Server side rendering, we just basically download our data. The server is has completely web pages. They just send the web pages entirely to the browser and browser show it immediately to the HTML. That's the both different. And what is the major difference of that? In client side rendering, the page is created by front end and client. But in server side, the page is already created and the page is generated by backend. Okay, that's simple. And now website has two main parts. Okay, ठीक है? And where is the page is created? The page is created using renders. ठीक है? Page is created by render method. And how the page and application is rendered? Let's see. Okay, render is just like render means if there is an address. So in this address we have a content, just like this a PDF. This is a text. This is content. This is an PDF. So what on this routing in this route we have this kind of content. That's it. See, routing means in simple term routing means creating the page that you see. ये this This page, the page I can see, the page you can see, that is creating by routing method. Okay, simple. And before and now we have just understand the basics so that I can jump to the coding part. Okay, so the next is course. ठीक है, course is just a front end. Before jumping to the, we understand what is an API. API is an application programming interface. It give a it give a protocol where we just communicate with front end to back end with the help of API. API is a very important concept when it's come to development and programming, because client every user want some kind of data, and the data is come from a client, from a server. And how you can communicate with a client to server without API? It's not possible. So API is very important to connect front end with back end. Okay. And okay. So next is, what is the difference between API and REST API? You hear about REST API. REST API is just like, what is the full form of REST API? If you anyone is live, just comment so I can reply. What is the full form of REST API? Is anybody know? So I can explain. I can give the what is exactly full form is REST API. Okay, so REST API is a representation state program. Simple. ठीक है, REST is a representation. Sorry, I just it's a different full form program. This is a REST API. REST API RE represent, and S for represent for state, and T for transform. ठीक है, transform. That's simple. Okay. And what is the difference between API and a REST API? API doesn't follow any protocols. If you just need any data, you just go to API and it send it to. You can use any method in API. But when it's come to REST API, you have a similar set kind of API, similar kind of method you can use on a REST API. For example, you can use get method, you use post method, you use delete method, you use put method. But in an API, you can use the partially, you can change the data partially with the help of patch data, and or भी multiple methods होते हैं. But in REST API, you have to follow a protocol. The protocol is maybe a protocol is simple sense. We have just teach you the protocol is like in a structured manner. You can't be access the code if you not follow the rule. REST API, you need to follow the rule. If you follow the complete rule, you can access the data. If any rule is break, the server will not respond to you because it's against. So you need to understand. Okay. And the next part is, okay. So we learn what is REST API, and the next we study the topic is, let's check the notes. Okay, here is the notes. REST API representation. I already told you this is the notes are provided by Virtual Code. It's a YouTube channel. If you want this notes, you can go to that YouTube channel and download it because it's totally free. So I just use it because I really like this notes, because its notes are full, completely copy paste note. It is like the point to point things that you actually need to learn backend. So I prefer this note. You can also use different notes as your preference. Okay. So connect front end with back. RESTful API representation state transfer. ठीक है. A RESTful API is a way to application to communicate with each other over the internet using the standard HTTP request, get, post, put, and delete. Okay, this is the main four method the HTTP request you that use RESTful APIs. Okay, connect front end, back end with front end. Okay, RESTful API representation of state transfer. Okay, everyone. Okay, so here is our connect frontend with backend REST API, and the next is client example. A mobile app or website send a request, and server receive the request and process it. Server send back a response, usually in JSON format. Okay, RESTful API work on JSON format. Okay, so and the next is connect backend with the front end. You if you want to connect your front end with backend with front end, you need to use the course. A course is a cross origin resource sharing in ExpressJS. ठीक है, it's the security feature in web browser that prevent requests from different origin unless expected allowed by the server. It's just simply like if your front end is on another port, your backend is on another port, that is a different origin. You can't be communicate to the each other before the cross, because thus if the address is different, how a front end can go to the backend? How can they communicate? So for fixing this problem, we use the course. This is an ExpressJS security prevent method. ठीक है? सेम ओरिजिन पॉलिसी रिस्ट्रिक्ट रिक्वेस्ट फ्रॉम डिफरेंट ओरिजिन टू प्रोटोकॉल एंड डिफरेंट ठीक है अगर प्रोटोकॉल्स ओरिजिन सब इफ ऑल दैट डिफरेंट यू कैन स्टिल कम्युनिकेट विद front end to the back end with the help of cross origin resource sharing. Okay, so if you want to install this dependency, you just write this command on your terminal and make sure you just run this terminal on the folder where you write your code. Okay, so write your code. Okay, so yeah, available. So hey everyone, if you are two currently viewers, can you just share? Tell me, are you a programmer or developer? So I can just talk to you and ask some questions that I actually need to, because still I'm struggling to learning code and I use this method to learning programming. So if you have any advice for me, so I can, so you can ask me and I ask you too. Is anybody at here? Okay, no problem. That's just like we have studied. And if you have any question, if you have any question regarding this live streaming and any question regarding the backend development, you just simply ask me. I reply all the comments. Okay. So here is that. This is an npm install course. Okay. You need this. It's just like, can we open a basic thing? No, no. I think we have to use as browser. Actually, I log in there. We use eraser. Okay. Eraser is a good tool to just explain you something in a simple structured manner. Yeah, I already signed up it yesterday, so why it's need login again? Okay, now it's open. You have open a blank sheet and just I teach you how the exactly things going. Okay, so here is our this is our front end. Okay, basic. Just make it shorter. Okay, and this is our backend. The address of front end is 1234 and the port address and a server address of backend is like a 567. Okay, this is to communicate. So how you can communicate with front end to backend? Okay, how you can communicate front end to backend? Okay, so because the address is different, so if you want to communicate with each other, they have a different origin. Front end has different origin 1234 and the second is 567. The backend is a different origin. You can't be communicate to each other before the APIs and cross origin. Okay, so how we use the cross codes? Na, it's a codes, a cross. It's a codes. Okay, so with the help of that, we can communicate to the each other with if we have still a different origin. Okay, so now let's move to the here is that middleware. No, no, it's that. Okay. So first, now we have jumped to the code, so we can understand the thing exactly correctly. Okay, so this I just need to check if anyone is watching in a vertical way, so they can also see the code clearly and understand it. Okay, so just check it. Let's check. The internet connection is very slow and the stream health is getting poor. But don't worry, we have just check it. It's work correctly. Okay, so now it's good. It's running properly. Okay, code is running. Here it is. Okay, I just that code in a midway so you can understand it clearly. Although, let's start the coding part. First of all, we just create our all the node package manager using our npm command. Okay, so this is our I have two folders, the frontend and backend. In frontend, we just simply run the command npm create npm install create vite, and then you have to create your React project. In the backend, we just run the npm install and we use ins and we install i npm I init and all npm express.js. We have installed express.js, cross and axios. This is all the libraries and important modules. So we just download it and install it. And now let's move to the coding part. Okay, here is our HTML. The first thing, we have to comment all this particular code and start coding with scratch. Okay, so first thing we have to write RFC. Okay, this is create your first React application. And I just close all these again so I can open it. Thing you have to just open your command prompt and you just need to write the command npm. You have to first thing you need to go on your folder. So write cd frontend. Okay, and you next is cd. You need to run the command npm run. So, so our server is running. Here is our app, and now we go to the just remove this part, and now this is our blank application. This is our blank page. Okay, it's very simple. You don't need to if you can't understand this thing, actually you need to understand some basics of React so you can understand. Okay, now jump to the coding part. Okay, first we send the data front end to back end, so we need to create a form. Okay, so for the repetitive task, actually the best thing is use Copilot, ChatGPT or that. Okay, so just like you have to create an input type, and input type text placeholder username. Okay, this is our three things. Okay, username, city and password. And if the user want to access, they actually need a password before and if they don't have a password, you can't access a account. You just open an Instagram, you create your account and sign up with the password, log in with the password. So password is mandatory if you want to access anything. Okay, maybe authentication is a different part. So this is when you study. Okay, and we create a password section, input type and write the password. And this is our password. Okay, this is our basic form. Now we just create the our use data. So those variable const and const HTML, no, and the network connection is very go slow. First of all, fix it, and now we jump to the, okay, let me check. Okay, now it's working properly. Okay, so here is our code. Okay, now we just create our four use state. Okay, hooks is where hooks is just hooks. It's a hook. It is a state variable. We use it. Okay, just wait a second. Okay. So in what is a hook in React? Hook is just like a function that provides. So basically हम यहाँ पे आप so we just created our hook const username and set username react.usestate. So no need to just first we import it. Okay, basically usestate. Okay, and we just give me blank. And the next is we create const city, const set age, and next is const password and set password, password comma set pass. Okay, we have created four hooks, and now we just set the value so we can handle all this input with the help of usestate, and we change the value as well as internet connection is why getting so. Okay, here it is. And now we just, if we have to handle these forms, we need to write down the state value here. Okay, so we just use value and write down username here. Okay, same as there. T and value age and value password. So what is right now? So if we write anything on there, the username, the value of that input will stored in that particular username state. And now how we can handle this use state? So now just understand it simply. Okay, username. Okay, so now just you have to go on and create a changes server. Okay, what the hell I'm saying? On change. Just go right on change. It is a built-in function that on change. It is a built-in function that we have provide that give JavaScript. That's the built-in function. JavaScript जो हमें देता है. Okay. On change पे we have just created a function e set username e dot target dot value e dot, okay, do the same thing in there as well. On change e set city e dot target dot value. Okay, on change. You can write anything there. we just use E so we can access the element value. If the user write A, the value of A will stored in that E because on change function can track whatever you write in your text. Okay. The internet connection is literally slow. It's just they have not getting receive enough data. I think now it's perfect. And now if the live streaming is going so well, just comment anything. Just like it so I can understand it. The live streaming is not getting properly right now. So we on change of age, we set the age value is e dot target dot value. Okay. If on change, if we write anything in password section, the value will change from set age, set password, e dot target dot value. Okay. The code we're getting the few word wrap format document, so you can't see it properly. Okay. So here is our code. Okay. This is the basic code, and now just run it and check what the output is. Okay. So you can say there is an output, and this is an style. Okay. The style is not perfect, so just import our app.css and just click it. So I just give you a basic style, you can give you as well as. Okay. So just see. Okay, so you can see now it's look great. Not so much, but it's, yeah, it's still, it's okay. Okay. So now our next step is we have to send the request. Okay. Data. We write any data here, just like Naman. Dot. Okay. I have to just check it. If we write any text here, it is visible on that screen or not. So inspect पे जाते हैं and just go on console, refresh the page, and just like nothing will show on console, but just go on there and so when the user will click on change, okay, so the value getting so change. So हम करते हैं, we just write the console.log here. Okay, console.log and check if we write anything here, does it will print on here or not.